With silver price being where it is, there is a temptation for a lot of people to take profit. That profit word is seen sometimes as quite the dirty word here in the silver stacking community. A lot of people want to hold this until they die, until it's pried from their cold dead hands. But we cannot ignore the fact that silver has been very profitable for a lot of people over the last few years. And if you are looking to take some profit on your silver, how do you do it? How do you go about making sure that you're not getting ripped off, that you're not getting a bad deal? And what can you do to protect yourself from those pesky authorities that might want to take a cut of those profits that you make? Well, there's an awful lot to think about when you are looking to sell some of your silver and gold, to be fair. But right now, I think a lot of people are asking the question, when is the right time to sell and how do I even go about doing it? Well, this is how. Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here, and a very warm welcome to you all joining me for another Precious Metal Ramble where we have down-to-earth discussions about all things precious and shiny. I want to talk a little bit about profit taking, about actually selling some silver. If you've owned silver for as long as I have, some of it might be 3x, 4x, or even in certain cases with some premiums up to 5x in value. And that is quite the profit. Now, profit is often seen as a bit of a dirty word for silver stackers because a lot of the mentality is, I'm going to keep this stuff and they can pry it from my cold dead hands and they will hold it until the end of time. But for a lot of people, taking profit on an investment is kind of part and parcel of why you got into that investment in the first place. Now, look, granted, I did do a video just last week saying I'm not selling my own personal investment silver. I think there is a lot of potential for silver in the future, and I just don't need the cash right now. If I was to liquidate my position within silver, what would I then invest that money in? And I feel right now it's good to have that diversification and it's good to continue to hold silver. But for a lot of people, profit is quite attractive, especially if you've owned for a long time. So what are the options? How do you do it? How do you maximize that return? There are a whole host of different ways, and I'm going to talk a little bit about all of those and my observations of the market right now, how things are going in terms of the second-hand market, selling to bullion dealers, the ease, the things you need to think about, capital gains taxes. I'm not a tax advisor, please remember that. So there's a whole host of things, and I hope that there is something for everyone in here. And even if you are one of those people who will be a die-hard silver stacker until literally the day you die hard, then maybe it's something to just think about in terms of swapping, because perhaps playing that ratio, swapping silver for gold right now, I've had a lot of inquiries about doing that, is something you might like to consider. Now, before we dive in and talk all about the different complexities of selling, quick reminder to hit the subscribe button because we're fast approaching 91,000 subscribers. It's going really well. We're getting some momentum on the channel. We're getting a lot of views. We're getting a lot of subscribers, and it would be great to have you on the journey because we're going to be doing a massive giveaway at 100K. And if we get there before my 10-year anniversary in July, that would be incredible. At the moment, we're on target for it. So please subscribe if you're not subscribed already. So, oh, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up. If I can do a thumbs up holding a silver bar. There you go, thumbs up as well. So, selling your silver and or gold, how easy is it? Now, I've sometimes in the past likened buying silver and gold, certainly more I think in the UK, but relatively around the world as well. It's like one of those online gambling places. You can get your money into it very quickly and easily. You can place orders on bullion dealers, you can buy from the Raw Mint, the US Mint, wherever it might be. You can buy your silver and gold very quickly, but liquidating the silver is often a little bit more of a complexity. And like with those online gambling sites, sometimes you have to jump through quite a few hoops to actually get your money. Not that it's quite the same as those. Sometimes you might have to provide ID and stuff like that, but still, there are some hoops that you might want to consider that you may not have considered already. So the main avenues by which somebody can sell silver and gold, really, in my mind, there are essentially two ways. You either do it yourself, or you sell it direct. Well, you're going to do it yourself if you sell it direct to a bullion dealer, but you either sell it to consumers yourself, or you sell it to a business. You sell it to a bullion dealer. Now, if you are selling it to a bullion dealer, you've got to remember that there is going to be a cut for the bullion dealer, and that comes in the fact that they will offer you a certain price that they know they can then go and make a profit on when they resell the products that you're selling. So do bear that in mind. If you're going to do the work yourself, You've got to think of it like the extra money that you would get compared with selling to a dealer. You are going to be working for that money. You're going to be working for those additional premiums. So what's it like right now, dealer premiums versus selling yourself? And what are the pros and cons for doing either of those things? So, as many of you may know on the channel, and if you don't, then pay attention, I have for the last 5 years or so been acting as an intermediary for a lot of other people, acting as an agent, helping people link up with buyers and sellers. So you can sell through our service on the intermediary second-hand market and you can get a better price. At the moment, I'm seeing people selling things like Britannias for around about 10 to 15 pounds per ounce over spot price. Now we compare that with dealer prices. At the moment, I saw an email, in fact, just this morning from Atkinson's Bullion, not sponsoring today's video, but they are a sponsor on the channel. They're offering 5% over spot price. And that sounds lovely, 5% over spot price. What does that actually mean? At the moment, with the prices where they are, that means they're offering around about 60 pounds an ounce. So you can see if you're getting, say, 10, 11 pounds over an ounce for your silver doing it yourself, then you're going to be getting more in your pocket at the end of the day. So cutting out those dealers is really important. That's sort of what the Backyard Bullion intermediary service, not fully advertising, a bit of a plug for my own service. If you're looking to sell, but you don't want to do the legwork that I'm about to explain what you have to do, and get in touch. But if you're going to do it yourself, you've got to think about all these other faceted bits that will have complexities for you. So how are you going to sell it? Where are you going to sell it? You're going to sell it on social media. You're going to sell it on the Silver Forum, YouTube, Facebook Marketplace, eBay. Where are you going to do it and how does that look? Are you going to be, oh, we haven't had a look at the Geiger. Should we look at that one? Are you going to be listing things yourself? Are you going to be having all of those items photographed? You're going to do them individually. There's been a really interesting seller on the Silver Forum actually of late where, in fact, it was a customer of ours from a long, long time ago. And a lot of the silver, it's funny because I recognize some of the handwriting on some of the tubes that he had. But he bought a lot of silver back in sort of 2017, 18 from the European Mint Group orders. Those were the days when we would unbox £50,000 worth of silver and drop ship it out to other customers. God, those boxes would be worth nearly £250,000 by now. But anyway, we digress. He asked for a lot of advice about the selling, how it would work on the Silver Forum, lots of really great community feedback. He then had fair market prices, so he didn't go and ask Bullion by post prices. He didn't ask for £90 of Britannia. He was asking, I think it was like 65 to £70 an ounce, depending on the product. He took good photos. He put his little name on a piece of paper for the photos. He did videos showing them, showing the condition of the coins. You know, there are a lot of good things there, a lot of good signs as a seller for him to do that help buyers have confidence to buy, because that's the biggest problem. That's where my intermediary service really comes in. If you're just Joe Blogs nobody on the internet and you set up a brand new profile on, say, the Silver Forum or Facebook or eBay, are people really going to part with their cold hard cash, sending you thousands and thousands of pounds to buy precious metals when they don't know you from Adam, and you could end up scamming them? And it's a worry that people have because it happens, unfortunately. It's one of those things that we just can't ignore, that there are unfortunately bad eggs in the world, more so whenever you have hardship, when you have cost of living crises and all of that. Fraud goes up. It's just the nature of the world. So from my perspective, as the intermediary, we hope to cut that out. So again, if you didn't want to do all of that legwork like the gentleman did on the Silver Forum, all credit to him. He has done really well and he's got a nice, good return out of it. He saved some money by instead of going to a bullion dealer. And if you've got a couple of thousand ounces of silver and you're really like liquidating that position because you've retired and you want to have that money in the bank, done, dusted, then realistically, that is going to be your best way to do it. Now, there are some other considerations, because this is where I want to sort of put the pseudo plug for the bullion dealer side of things. So if you're doing that and your sizable position, you're selling to like 100 different individuals, you can almost guarantee that in this modern Big Brother society right now, you are going to get flagged by your bank. You are going to have questions from your bank. And if you're not going to get questions from your bank, you can bet your bottom dollar that your bank is going to report that money to HMRC. HMRC will then have a look at your situation and tell me, and I tell you from my own personal experience, and HMRC have audited me last year. I've sat with HMRC people in my living room talking about my own personal finances and tax affairs and going through my own tax and bookkeeping. They will go through things with the fine-tooth comb. If you're selling a bunch of your stuff and it's just personal investments that you're selling, great. But be aware that if you're going to be doing this over a long period of time, that there could be an interpretation that you're trading. So you need to have the records, you need to have the emails, the back and forth, the payments. You have to have all of this record keeping really quite importantly stored. The other faceted problem is going to be capital gains tax. So if you're selling items that are not capital gains exempt, and in fact, I reached out to the gentleman that was selling all of this stuff on the Silver Forum to say, if you need help, I'm here, just get in touch. And he was quite happy to go and do it himself, absolutely fine. But I said, if he wanted help to do it, then I'm here. He then said that he's being very selective with what he's selling, all of his capital gains stuff only, because the capital gains chargeable assets that he bought, they're up so much that he can't sell very much without going over that profit threshold and having to pay taxes. Now, this is my sort of pseudo plug for bullion dealers and why I think there is a place still in the world. You might ask yourself, well, what's the point in a bullion dealer if you're going to be able to sell yourself and get the prices that you want, and then you'll all be fine cutting out that bullion dealer? Well, where's the problem? Well, here is the best thing about a bullion dealer. If you just took 1,000 ounces, or let's say you bought 2 monster boxes of maple leafs and you bought them and you want to sell them, you need the money, you could go down the private route like I've just explained. There is a lot of work for it. You have to put in that effort, you have to put in that time. Sometimes that would require leaps of faith where you might send your silver out to people before they've paid. If you're on social media and you're dealing with experienced people like myself and others, then that's fairly safe, but it's a worry. Or you could just ring up one of the bullion dealers and you get £60 an ounce for it. You send the silver in or you drive it in, you get paid that same day. Job done. Also, from a record keeping point of view, one single transaction with a bullion dealer is way easier to keep track of than 100 individual transactions or more if you've got more silver to sell. Certainly if you've got loads of things like this, you wouldn't sell these in bulk to people. You'd sell one at a time to a collector, or a sort of pseudo collector investor. These are difficult things to keep records of, let me tell you. And it's important to keep the records because when it comes to capital gains, you are guilty until proven innocent by yourself, unfortunately, with HMRC. Their tactics with HMRC, and I didn't get confirmation of this from the gentleman that came to visit, but it's well known that basically HMRC will write out these nudge letters and they'll send these letters, and this will happen in other countries as well. In the US, the IRS will do it as well. They'll send out nudge letters where they go, we've received data from your bank or from eBay or from wherever it might be that you have all of this income coming in. Could you please, we think you owe this much tax. And then all it takes is 1 out of 10 people or 2 out of 10 people, 3 out of 10 people to get scared of that and go, oh no, HMRC, oh my God, I need to pay the tax. Whereas then if you just simply provide the evidence and go back to HMRC and say, no, actually, these were private personal investments. Look, here's my purchase receipts of my capital gains tax products. Excuse me, capital gains tax exempt products like Britannia's and Queen's Beast and things like that. And here's the record of me selling it to Joe Blogs on the internet. I made a profit. I held it for 10 years. Job done. That's irrefutable evidence that it is a personal private investment, not a business trading asset. And it's capital gains tax exempt. Job done. You're fine. And if it's with a dealer, that's so much easier to track. It really is. It so much is. And there is just no doubting it. The other thing is you can take advantage of individual price point days. So spot has gone up and down a lot lately. We'll all agree that at one point it was £62 an ounce. If you were selling on that particular day, you could have got a way bigger premium, but then it dropped down to £52 an ounce just a week later. And that's been not a problem, but that has been a sort of pseudo issue for our intermediary service, to the point where, and I love rehashing this thought in my mind, I had, quite frankly, well, what we're in the 13th minute of the video, so I can quite happily swear. I had an arsehole of a customer, or for you in the US, an asshole of a customer last, I can't remember, was it October, something like that, where he sold a bunch of silver through our intermediary selling service. And it was one of these things where, like, I should have just taken full payment up front, but I didn't, because he'd bought a bunch of the silver from our European Mint Group orders a long time ago. And he said, just worried about handing over, 25 grand's worth of silver without that spec. So I was like, okay, look, we dealt before back in the day, that's fine. So I then sold all this silver on a Friday afternoon. Of course, silver went up a little bit more on that Friday. Finished the day about £2 an ounce more. He was selling 500 ounces of silver. Now this is the best bit, because we sold all that silver for him at about £32 an ounce average. At the time, I think spot was like 25 an ounce. So fair premiums, job done. He sends me a snotty email the next morning saying he's not going to pay my fees because I should have waited and predicted the market. Absolutely get in the bin. I just told him to basically politely F off. And in a polite business sort of way, I basically told him I don't want to deal with you. I'm not that kind of person that deals with people who are like you, who just are after a quick buck. And the most hilarious thing was we went through his entire stack of silver that he was selling, helped him work out what his capital gains would be, such that he would have, after my selling fees, no capital gains taxes to pay. Of course, he didn't pay my fees. Now he has capital gains tax to declare and pay the whole lot. He better have those records, because one day HMRC will come a knocking. Now, it gives me no end of pleasure to know that that asshole, that absolute horrible person who just took advantage, is now down approximately £18,000 or more, £40 an odd an ounce, £500 an ounce. Now it's nearly £20,000 he's down, having sold that silver. So that gives me no end of inner pleasure. Probably shouldn't. But do you know what? Sometimes this world, people deserve what they get, and karma is a bit of a bitch, isn't it, quite frankly? So, in summary, if you're going to sell your silver, you need to have a good, long, hard think about the impact it is going to take time-wise. You can just go to a bullion dealer. There are lots of different bullion dealers out there that will help and have good prices. Some might even pay a little bit more for items like this, but generally speaking, if you've got semi-numismatic items, it's worth putting in the legwork yourself. If you are unable or unwilling or I don't know what's the word, unsuited to this kind of thing, then stuff like our intermediary services may be something you should think about, and you can get in touch with me if you've got stuff you want to maybe look to sell. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a frog in my throat today. But generally, you've got to really think about it, because it's going to be difficult to manage those record keeping, which is really important to do, and to make sure that you are following all the laws and rules. It's super important to have, because let me tell you, from that HMRC audit, they know everything. They came prepared. I saw some of their notes. They had information that I had not given them already. Yeah, they know. They will always know. So the other thing is, which I'll kind of finish up the video rounding about, is the kind of part of the reason why I'm not selling at the moment. So a fair amount of the silver that I have is capital gains chargeable. So you'll see here that I've got like pretty much exclusively, other than the sovereigns and the Britannia here, this is all chargeable. If I was to sell this, I've already made profits this year on some stocks and shares that I have cashed out. So I'd be over my capital gains tax exemption threshold. So even if I sold one maple leaf and made 30 quid profit on it, which is kind of where I am on some of these, I'd have to pay 24% of that £30. And I don't want to do that right now. So I'm just going to hold it and wait for an opportune moment. The problem I kind of face is that there is a lot of profit locked up and a very small amount of allowance every year that we have to work with in the UK. So it's going to be a long time until I'm able to cash out all of that. But doing it the right way, I think, is the most important thing. So please be safe and careful if you are selling. If you are not selling, I'd love to know your reasons for it. If you're selling as well, that profit word, a lot of people think it's a dirty word, taking profit on your silver and gold, but I think it's a really important thing for a lot of people to acknowledge, that it is a fair thing to do. It's a good thing to do, to take profit on one's investments and move on. So yeah, there we go. Now, cool kids, what are we going to say for the Cool Kids Club prize? I think, do you know what, we have to do this for the a-hole customer. We're not going to say that word in the comment section, because you'll all get banned, or at least your comments will get hidden. So what we're going to say is, he's £20,000 worse off. There we go. We can say that. £20,000 worse off. That is horrible, but also quite pleasuring at the same time. Anyway, that's it from me. We'll see you all on the next video. Please make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe if you've not done so already. Reminder quickly, because we have got this target of 100k subs before July. I want to get there. It'd be amazing to do before the 10-year anniversary. Big giveaways. We're going to be talking with a lot of people in Berlin about giveaway donations and things like that. So it's going to be big. I hope it'll be really, really fun as well. So subscribe if you're not subscribed. Otherwise, that's it from me. We'll see you on the next video. As always, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.